Hello and welcome to Gaming Gatehouse and into this playthrough of Mass Effect 1. We will resume the Codex entries that we have to interrupt last time because my camera turned off, lost power, and now with the camera properly attached to the power supply we can resume our Codex. So we have actually a few more from the ships and vehicles. We ended at the Dreadnoughts and we go now to the Starships Fighters. Fighters are single pilot combat small craft. They are lightweight enough that they can be economically fitted with powerful element 0 cores, making them capable of great acceleration and sharper maneuvers than starships. Kinetic barrier shields change starships' battle from short, vicious bloodbaths to extended, indecisive, sluggish matches. Only the main gun of a dreadnought could punch a mass-accelerated slug through the barriers of an opposing dreadnought. This changed with the development of the fighter-launched mass disruptor torpedo, a short-range weapon that can penetrate kinetic barriers to destroy their projector assemblies. Starship Guardian defenses must be overwhelmed through swarm tactics. Fighter groups can take heavy casualties, pressing their torpedo attacks home. Once fighter-launched torpedoes have crippled an enemy's barriers, the mass accelerators on frigates and cruisers can make short work of them. Interceptors are a type of fighter optimized to attack other fighters, with no ability to damage starships. Interceptors are used to screen friendly units from incoming fighter attack. Frigates. Frigates. I don't know. Frigates are light escort and scouting vessels. They often have extensive guardian systems to provide anti-fighter screening for capital ships, and carry a squad of marines for security and groundside duty. Unlike larger vessels, frigates are able to land on planets. Frigate drive systems allow them to achieve high FTL cruise speeds. They also have proportionally larger thrusters and lighter design mass, allowing them to maneuver more handily. In combat, speed and maneuverability make a frigate immune to the long-range fire of larger vessels. In the time it takes projectiles to reach them, frigates are no longer where they were predicted to be. In fleet combat, frigates are organized into wolf pack flotillas of 4 to 6. Wolf packs speed through enemy formations, hunting enemy vessels whose kinetic barriers have been taken down by fighter-launched disruptor torpedoes. The wolf packs circle strafes, vulnerable targets, using their superior speed and maneuverability to evade return fire. Alliance frigates are named for great battles in human history. Hence, the Normandy, which is a cool name. The Normandy is a frigate. Starships heat management. Dispersal of heat generated by onboard systems is a critical issue for a ship. If it cannot deal with heat, the crew may be cooked within the hull. Radiation is the only way to shed heat in the vacuum. Civilian vessels utilize large, fragile radiator panels that are impossible to armor. Warships use diffuse radiator arrays, DRA, ceramic strips along the exterior of the armored hull. These make the ship appear striped to thermographic sensors. Since the arrangement of the strips depends on the internal configuration of the ship, the patterns for each vessel are unique and striking. On older ships, the draw strips could become red or white hot, dubbed tiger stripes or war paint by humans. The glowing draw had a psychological impact on pirates and irregular forces. Strip radiators are not as efficient as panels, but if damaged by enemy fire, the ship only loses a small portion of its total radiation capacity. In most cases, a vessel's draw alone allows it to cruise with no drift difficulties. Operations deep within the solar system can cause problems. A ship engaged in combat can produce titanic amounts of heat from maneuvering, burns, and weapons fire. When fighting in a high heat environment, warships employ high efficiency droplet heat sinks. In a droplet system, tanks of liquid sodium or lithium absorb heat within the ship. The liquid is vented from spray nozzles near the bow as a thin sheet of millions of micrometer scale droplets. The droplets are caught at the stern and recycled into the system. A droplet system can sink 100 times as much heat as the draw strips. Drops sheets resemble a surface ship's wake through the water. The wake peels out in sharp turns, spreading a fan of droplets as the ship changes vectors and leaves the coolant behind. Wait a minute. I have a question. Does those droplets come out of the ship? The liquid must be vented, so I suppose it goes outside of the ship, then it's caught at the stern. It's caught how? This means you lose sweat. The sweat cools down, and then you have to get it again. You have to get it again. How do you do that? I know, it's science fiction. Okay. Starships sensors. Light lag prevents sensing in real time at great distances. A ship firing its thrusters at the Charon relay can be easily detected from Earth, 5.75 light hours, 6 billion kilometers away. But Earth will only see the event 5 hours and 45 minutes after it occurs, to the light speed limit. Defenders can't see enemies coming until they have already arrived. Because there is FTL travel and communications but no FTL sensors, frigates are crucial for scouting and picket duties. Passive sensors are used for long-range detection, while active sensors obtain short-range, high-quality targeting data. Passive sensors include visual, thermographic, and radio detectors that watch and listen for objects in space. A powered ship emits a great deal of the energy, the heat of the life support systems, the radiation given off by power plants and electrical equipment, the exhaust of the thrusters. Starships stand out plainly against the near absolute zero background of space. Passive sensors can be used during FTL travel, but incoming data is significantly distorted by the effects of the mass effect envelope and Doppler shift. Active sensors are radars and high-resolution LiDARs, laser detection and ranging, that emit a ping of energy and listen for return signals. LiDARs have a narrower field of view than radar, but LiDAR resolution allows images of detected objects to be assembled. Active sensors are useless when the ship is moving at FTL speeds. Starships thrusters. A mass effect drive core decreases the mass of a bubble of space-time around the ship. This gives the This gives the ship the potential to move quickly, but does not apply any motive power. Ships use their sublight thrusters for motive power at FTL. There are several varieties of thruster, varying in performance versus economy. All ships are equipped with arrays of hydrogen-oxygen reaction control thrusters for maneuvering. Ion drives electrically accelerate charged particles as a reaction mass. They are extremely efficient, but produce negligible thrust. They are mainly used for automated cargo barges. Negligible. The primary commercial engine is a fusion torch, which vents the plasma of the ship's power plant. Fusion torches often offer powerful acceleration at the cost of difficult heat management. Torch fuel is fairly cheap. Helium-3 is skimmed from gas giants and deuterium extracted from seawater of cometary bodies. Propellant is hydrogen, likewise skimmed from gas giants. In combat, military vessels require accelerations beyond the capability of fusion torches. Warship thrusters inject antiprotons into a reaction chamber filled with hydrogen. The matter-antimatter annihilation provides unmatched motive power. The drawback is fuel production. Antiprotons must be manufactured one particle at a time. Most antimatter production is done at massive solar arrays orbiting energetic stars, making them high-value targets in wartime. The exhaust of fusion and antiproton drives is measured in millions of degrees Celsius. Any vessel caught behind it will melt like wax in a blowtorch. Any long-duration interstellar flight consists of two phases, acceleration and deceleration. Starships accelerate to halfway point of their journey, then flip 180 degrees and apply thrust on the opposing vector, deceleration as they begin the trip. The engines are always operating, and peak speed is attained at the middle of the flight. I mean, you only need the initial thrust, but if you have to keep accelerating, it makes sense. But if you want to in space, you don't need to keep pedaling for you to go at a certain speed, but if they still are accelerating, then okay. Vehicles, combat drones. Drones are small robots used to support and supplement organic soldiers on the battlefield. They have no artificial intelligence of any kind, but follow fixed, minimally adaptive programs. Most varieties employ Mass Effect levitation to improve mobility. All modern armies rely on veritable fleets of drones for routine soldering, static garrisons, patrols, etc. The use of drones in non-critical duties keeps manpower needs down and reduces casualties in low-intensity conflicts. Less advanced races and cultures with less sensitivity to casualties have correspondingly fewer drones in their inventory. Drones are of little use in conventional open field battle as they are poorly armed and armored. In addition to combat drones, support drones are used to assist organic units in the field. Reconnaissance drones are small, stealthy craft that screen combat units in the field and warn commanders when enemies are spotted. In electronic warfare, drones supplement battlefield technicians, serving as mobile jammers and elite electronic intelligence gathering platforms. Military and civilian police utilize Dazzler drones, equipped with powerful strobe lights to disorient and subdue intruders using non-lethal force. Strobe lights. Okay, where's the music? Strobe lights. What if someone has epilepsy? Drone formations are officially referred to as wings, i.e. deploy the 4th assault drone wing on the left flank. Common soldiers often refer to friendly formations as flocks and enemy formations as swarms. Okay. Weapons, ablative armor. A warship kinetic barriers reduce the damage from solid objects, but can do nothing to block guardian lasers, particle beams, and other forms of direct energy weapon do. The inner layer of warship protection consists of ablative armor plate designed to boil away when heated. The vaporized armor material scatters a dew beam, rendering it ineffectual. A scaffold is built around the interior pressure hull, with sheets of ablative armor hung from the structure. Ships typically have multiple layers of armor, separated by empty baffles. Spaces often used for cargo storage. Cruisers, which lack the internal space to fit dedicated fighter hangars, store the shipboard fighter complement in the baffles. It is not unknown for illicit crew to build illicit alcohol distilleries in some obscure corner of the baffles, safe from prying eyes. Okay, but how large are they? Because I had the idea they were small. Weapons. Disrupted torpedoes. Disrupted torpedoes are powered projectiles with warheads that create random and unstable mass effect fields when triggered. These fields warp space-time in a localized area. The rapid asymmetrical mass changes cause the target to rip itself apart. In flight, torpedoes use a mass-increasing field, making them too massive for enemy kinetic barriers to repulse. This extra mass gives torpedoes very sluggish acceleration, making them easy prey for defensive guardian weapons. So, torpedoes have to be launched at very close range. Torpedoes are the main anti-ship weapon used by fighters. They are launched from point-blank range in ripple-fire waves, reminiscent of the ancient Calliope rocket artillery launchers. Thus, their popular nickname Callies. By saturation defensive guarding systems with multiple targets, at least a few will get through. Weapons, Guardian. A ship's General Area Defense Integration Anti-Spacecraft Network, Guardian, consists of an anti-missile, anti-fighter laser turrets on the exterior hull. Because these are under computer control, the gunnery control officer needs to do little beyond turn the system on and designate targets as hostile. Since lasers move at light speed, they cannot be dodged by anything moving at non-relativistic speeds, unless the beam is aimed poorly. It will always hit its target. In the early stage of a battle, the Guardian fire is 100% accurate. It is not 100% lethal, but it doesn't have to be. Damaged fighters must break off for repairs. Lasers are limited by diffraction. The beam spreads out, decreasing the energy density, watts per square meter. The weapon can place on a target. Any high-powered laser is a short-range weapon. Guardian networks have another limitation: heat. Weapons-grade lasers require cool-down time, during which heat is transferred to sinks or radiators. As lasers fire, heat builds with them, reducing damage, range, and accuracy. Fighters attack in swarms. The first few will be hit by Guardian, but as the battle continues, the effects of laser overheat allow the attackers to press ever closer to the ship. Constant use will burn out the laser. Guardian lasers typically operate in infrared frequencies. Shorter frequencies will offer superior stopping power and range, but degradation of focal arrays and mirrors will make them expensive to maintain. And most prefer mechanical reliability over bleeding-edge performance where lives are concerned. Solarians, however, use near-ultraviolet frequency lasers with 6 times the range, believing that having additional time to shoot down incoming missiles is more important. Lasers are not blocked by the kinetic barriers of capital ships. However, the range of lasers limits their use to rare knife fight range ship-to-ship combat. So, pretty interesting the description of the weapons. You simply can't use the famous laser pistol pew pew because the laser doesn't move like that. It moves much faster. But I'm digressing. Continuing. We are not. I think we are close to the end of the secondary. I think. Technology, biotics, biotic amps. Biotics manipulate mass effect fields using dozens of elemental nodules within their nervous system that reacts to electric stimuli from the brain. Amplifiers allow biotics to synchronize the nodules so they can form fields large and strong enough for practical use. Amplifiers can improve a specific discipline or talent. An implant is a surgically embedded interface port into which amps are plugged in. On humans, the implant is usually placed at the base of the skull for convenient access, though the user must be careful to keep it free from contaminants. Implant ports can fit a variety of amps, and there is a growing market for modification and add-ons. The finest quality implants and amps are manufactured by Asari artisans. With the Alliance L3 implants, first deployed in 2170, are a significant step forward. Biotics training. Biotic implants and amplifiers only provide the potential to create coherent mass effects fields. Whether biotics can actually do so is largely determined by their training. Biotics must develop conscious control over their nervous systems, sending specific electrical impulses to the element 0 nodules embedded in their nerves. They are taught to use their implants and amps with biofeedback devices and physical mnemonics. Specific gestures or muscle movements fire the proper sequence of nerves to activate a certain skill. So it's like in Naruto. You only have to move a certain way to fire the biotic the certain way, at the proper way. Yeah, I know, Naruto is a bad example. Okay. Codex Industries pioneered biotic training with the Biotic Acclimation and Temperance Training Program, Brain Camp. Although BAT did not achieve the desired results, many techniques taught are still used today. Many human think tanks are trying to develop some form of biotic super soldier. Most are benign efforts to create more flexible troops. Others, less publicly known, are unapologetic attempts to create Nietzschean Superman. Of course. Communications. Real-time communication is possible thanks to networks of expensive mass relays buoys that can daisy chain a transmission via lasers. Buoys are maintained in patterns built outward from each mass relay. Buoys are little more than a cluster of primitive miniature mass relays. Each individual buoy is connected to a partner on another buoy in the network, forming a corridor of low mass space. Tight beam communications lasers are piped through these tubes of FTL space, allowing virtually instantaneous communication to anywhere on the network. The networks connect across regions by communication lasers through the mass relays. With this system, the only communications delay is the light lag between the source or destination and the closest buoy. So long as all parties remain with half a light second, 150,000 kilometers of buoys, seamless real-time communication are possible. Since buoys are maintained in no-travel areas, most enjoy unlimited instant communication. Ships only suffer communications lag when operating off established deep space routes around uninhabited outer system gas giants and other unsettled areas. During wartime, comm buoy networks are the first targets of attack. Once the network is severed, it can take anywhere from weeks to years to get the message out of a contested system. In systems where a buoy network was not yet been built or has been destroyed, rapid communications means ferrying information through high-speed courier ships and unmanned data drones. So the buoys are like the pipes, space pipes, so the communication proper can go. Right. Communication administration. While comm buoys allow rapid transmission, there is a finite amount of bandwidth available. Given that trillions of people may be trying to pass a message through a given buoy at one time, access to the network is parceled out on priority tiers. The Citadel Council and the Spectres have absolute priority. If they are using all the bandwidth, everyone else must wait. Individual governments and their militaries enjoy the next higher tier. During wartime, civilian communication can suffer hours or even days of lag. Intelligence agencies study ping time through various systems to predict military buildups. Below the governments and military's bandwidth priority is sold to the highest bidder. Media conglomerates, particularly headline news networks, purchase higher priority to provide their viewers with timely information. Corporations that require timely information and response capability, for example, financial institutions and investment firms, also invest heavily in priority access. The funds acquired through sales of bandwidth are used to maintain and expand the communications infrastructure. While everyone with a computer has guaranteed free and unlimited access to the galactic extranet, they are last in line for bandwidth and may have to wait for their requests to be processed. Bandwidth resale corporations use investment capital to purchase blocks of high priority access, made available by paid subscription. 2. If you are a Spectre, you have unlimited bandwidth to use to search for porn. Communications methodology. As the population of the galaxy increases and new worlds are settled, timely access for home users and frontier settlements with underdeveloped communication infrastructures is a growing problem. To ameliorate bandwidth issues, a sophisticated array of data caches and virtual intelligence search agents programs are available. When a user submits a query, it is first routed to the data cache on their colony or star system. At the cache, the user's search agent VI collates mountains of locally stored data to find the desired material. If the information is not available locally, the query is passed along to a neighboring system, and then outward in an expanding network. VI search agents in those systems replicate the search. If the desired information is found, it is compressed into a burst file and queued for transmission to the source system. The burst is assigned a priority based on the number of queries for it. The greater the number of queries, the higher the priority. When a new solar system is first connected to the net, a selection of the most popular data is installed locally. Through storage hardware is shipped, though storage hardware is shipped, the capacity required to hold all the data produced every day by trillions of people on hundreds of worlds is not trivial. It's not economical to store local copies of all the data available on obscure topics just in case. As colonies mature, older and less popular chunks of data filter into them as a result of queries and are placed in the local archive. Searches for obscure topics are increasingly likely to produce instant results as the archive grows. And I was thinking, reading about all the data that's stored, remind me of some people have the tendency to hoard data in their computers in the form of files that they never use. Creds. The standard credit was established by the Citadel's Unified Banking Act as a currency of interstellar trade. The credit has a managed floating exchange rate, calculated in real time by the central bank to maintain the average value of all participating currencies. Some regional currencies are worth more than a credit and some less. Hard currency can be stolen or counterfeit, so electronic fund transfers are the norm. More importantly, physical transactions cannot be easily tracked, making them ideal for tax evasion or the purchase of illegal goods. With the Alliance joined the Citadel, its various national treasuries were linked into the credit network. A human with a bank account of Mexican pesos, Japanese yen, or Indian rupees can purchase any item priced in credits at fair market value. All economies that participate in the credit network are required to price the items in both local currency and credits. And strange. Okay. Weapons, armor and equipment. Upgrades. The development of practical manufacturing omni-tools allows modern militaries a great deal of flexibility in equipment loadouts. A vast number of field modification kits, or upgrades, are available for common equipment such as weapons, armor, omni-tools, biotic amps, and even grenades. An upgrade kit typically consists of less than a dozen unique parts and an optical storage disk. When loaded into an Omni-tool, the OSD provides all technical specifications required to manufacture the tools and additional parts necessary to install the upgrade onto another piece of equipment. Assembly is typically modular, and installation can be completed in less than a minute. Since Omni-tools are designed to use common battlefield salvage materials such as plastics, ceramics, and light metals rendered into semi-molten Omni-gel for quick use, it is quite possible for a trained soldier carrying upgrade kits to customize gear on the battlefield to fit the current tactical situation. And that's it. That cleans up the Codex secondary. Everything is being read. Now, how much? No, barely half an hour has passed, so I think I'm going to the primary just to keep up with new entries, and the Codex and for a while no more Codex. So
after the Geths secure a location, they round up and impale dead and living bodies on mechanic. Thresher moths are subterranean carnivores that spend their entire lives eating or searching for something to eat. Threshers reproduce via spores that can lie dormant for millennia, yet are robust enough to survive prolonged periods in deep space and atmospheric re-entry. As a result, thresher spores appear on many worlds, spread by previous generations of space travelers. The body of a thresher never entirely leaves the ground. Only the head and tentacles erupt from the earth to attack. In addition to physical attacks, threshers have the ability to project toxic chemicals, and emit bursts of infrasound as a shockwave weapon. The Alliance first encountered Threshers on the colony of Akuz in 2177. After contact was lost with the Pioneer team, Marine units were deployed to investigate. The shore parties were set upon by hungry Threshers, and nearly the entire assault force was killed. Alliance forces recommend engaging Threshers with vehicle-mounted heavy weapons.
Not a fan of Thresher moths, or grabroids, or giant dune sandworms.
Varan are omnivores with a preference for living prey. Originally native to the Krogan homeworld of Tuchanka, they are, like most life from Tuchanka, savage, clannish, and consummate survivors. They are pack hunters when vulnerable prey is readily available, and become scavengers when outnumbered or outclassed. Their supreme adaptability, vicious demeanor, and rapid breeding cycle have made them ubiquitous and dangerous pests on many worlds. Virtually everywhere the Krogan have been, Varan infestations have followed, wreaking havoc with the native ecology. The Krogan have had a love-hate relationship with Varan for millennia, alternately fighting them for territory and embracing them as treasured companions. To this day, Krogan raise them as beasts of war. One of the common subgenus of Varan has metallic silver scales, leading to the rather unusual nickname, fish dogs.
An animal that only a Krogan would adopt as a pet.
Pharos is a habit. Vermeer is a lush world located on the frontier of the Attican Traverse. Its vast seas and orbital position on the inner life zone have created a wide equatorial band of humid, tropical terrain. Only the political instability of the region has impeded efforts at colonization. Many times the Citadel has opened negotiations to settle Vermeer with various criminal gangs and petty dictatorships in the nearby Terminus systems. All fell apart due to internal power shifts within the opposing parties. The Citadel has written off the colonization of Vermeer as impossible without significant political change. The Terminus powers themselves are unlikely to ever settle Vermeer. Most lack the resources to support settlement of a virgin world, finding it more expedient to steal from their neighbors than build for themselves. Faster-than-light drives use Sovereign is the flagship of the rogue Spectres Saren. An enormous dreadnought larger than any other ship in any known fleet, it is crewed with both Geth and Krogan. At 2 kilometers long, its spinal-mounted main gun is likely capable of penetrating another dreadnought's kinetic barriers with a single shot. How Saren acquired this incredible warship is unknown. The prevailing opinion is that Sovereign is a Geth construct, while others believe it is a Prothean relic. Its design, however, hints at a more alien and mysterious origin. The attack on Eden Prime demonstrated Sovereign's ability to generate mass effect fields powerful enough to land on a planetary surface. This implies it has a massive Element Zero core and the ability to generate staggering amounts of power. Ship mobility dominates space combat. The primary objective is to align the mass accelerator along the bow with the opposing vessel's broadside. Battles typically play out as artillery duels, fought at ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, though assaults through defended mass relays often occur at knife fight ranges, as close as a few dozen kilometers. Most ship-to-ship engagements are skirmishes between patrol vessels of cruiser weight and below, with dreadnoughts and carriers only deployed in full-scale fleet actions. Battles in open space are short and often inconclusive, as the weaker opponent typically disengages. Once a ship enters FTL flight, the combat is effectively over. There are no sensors capable of tracking them, or weapons capable of damaging them. The only way to guarantee an enemy will stand and fight is to attack a location they have a vested interest in, such as a settled world or a strategically important mass relay. The Mako infantry fighting vehicle was designed for the System Alliance's frigates. Though the interior is cramped, an M35 is small enough to be carried in the cargo bay and easily deployed on virtually any world. With its turreted 155mm mass accelerator and coaxially mounted machine gun, the Mako can provide a fire team with weapon support as well as mobility. Since Alliance Marines may be required to fight on any world, the Mako is environmentally sealed and equipped with microthrusters for use on low-gravity planetoids. The Mako is powered by a sealed hydrogen-oxygen fuel cell and includes a small Element Zero core. While not large enough to nullify the vehicle's mass, the core can reduce it enough to be safely airdropped. When used in conjunction with thrusters, it also allows the Mako to extricate itself from difficult terrain.
And that's it. All entries for the Codex, both primary and secondary, have been read. There will appear new entries as we further along, but for now, everything has been read or listened to. So I will stop here, and next time we will return to the planet assignments, to a new batch of planet assignments, and I can promise that it will be the last one. We will do a few, go to the Citadel to buy equipment, to sell excess equipment, do some assignments, and return to more planet exploration, and then continue with the main story. So thank you again for joining me in this Mass Effect playthrough at the Codex. Finally stopped blinking, and thank you again, and I'll see you again soon.